going, the parents illegally parking, and all that. But you know, I kind of have this, I see some of our people out there, and there's some mothers there. See them?
Yeah, I see them.
They got their coffee cup. They're...
And this doesn't mean that we don't love our kids.
Yeah, I know you love your boys.
Absolutely love them. But, you know, summer is only 2 months, and we're glad that it's only 2 months because you get to the end, and the kids just want to see their friends again.
Oh, yeah?
And we just want some peace in our homes.
And everybody's got their new clothes on. It's just a great time of the year. So, hey, I'm going to pray for the parents a little bit later on because I think you need it too. Yeah, anyway, so we took to the streets. You know, we're going to find out what are some of the best things about going back to school. And here's what you had to say.
As the father of 2 young school-aged children, oh, here's a photo of them right here. They take after their mother. Heading back to class really is a time of tears. For me, tears of joy. All the fun times we spent over the summer months, like when Nora stepped on a nail and we had to go to the hospital, or when Emmett remodeled our kitchen with a tub of crazy glue and an orange marker. You know, orange really is my son's color. Yes, heading back to class is a great time, but what is the best thing about sending your kid back to class?
The best thing about heading back to class is all the new learning they do every day in class.
They get to reconnect with their friends and continue their love of learning and their growth on their educational journey after a great, fun summer.
They get to see their friends again.
Well, I'm here with my niece, so I don't have any of my own children. I am a principal of an elementary school, so I've got 550 kids, and I better get back to this one.
No, not one person said just the peace and quiet in their home. Not one person. There had to be at least somebody besides myself who just likes the peace and quiet.
Man, I just love your smile today. I mean, I like your smile every day, but it's extremely bright today. You know, it must be interesting in Greg's home. You know, those little kids with the beards on, and you know, one of the fears though, as a parent, I had is when they bring their homework home from grade 1, and I don't know how to do it. And that was before the Google, YouTube stage. Anyway, it's...
Wait until they get to grade 7. It becomes a whole other challenge. Well, recently our team was in Winkler, Manitoba for the Harvest for Kids Combine Challenge. And we've talked about Harvest for Kids, amazing organization that raises money to send kids off to summer camp, Christian summer camp. Well, the Combine Challenge had set a Guinness World Record. They beat their previous record of 244 combines with over 300 this year. So all these combines going down this field. I had to have somebody kind of explain it to me, being a city girl. So congratulations. While we were there, we connected with world-class improv violinist and vocalist Rosemary Siemens about her role in the event and her music.
And let's hear that conversation right now.
The most important thing for me is to touch people through stories and through music, and I love just sharing what God has done in my life, and to do that through the music and then be recognized with that, it was just unbelievable. It's gospel/country album of the year for my album Plum Coulee My Home, which I named after my hometown. It was actually amazing. I never, I started out as a violinist, and I just recently kind of switched to country and bluegrass, and to write my own songs and to tell my story through music and to sing and to then be awarded with such a prestigious award, it was actually incredible, and it just made all the work that I've done so worthwhile. Playing a violin that's from 1714, named Sparkle. And this violin was stolen in Santa Barbara. I was playing at the Museum of Contemporary Art, and came out from the gig, was going to another gig in South Dakota, and violin is gone, nowhere to be seen. And this violin is like a piece of me. It's just the bow itself is $14,000 to give you an idea, and I didn't know what to do. We started searching through dumpsters. We went to liquor stores. We went to gas stations. We searched the streets. We roamed the streets, didn't know what to do. I'm sitting in my car with my friends. Out of nowhere, a black SUV shows up next to us. Guy rolls down the window in the middle of the night. He goes, "Hey, are you the ones looking for a violin?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have it?" He says, "No, I heard about it at the gas station." I'm crying beyond belief, and my friend says to him, he said, can we say a little prayer about this violin? The guy goes, "Absolutely." So here we are, 4 a.m., Santa Barbara, hotel parking lot, praying about the return of my violin. After that prayer, something amazing happened. The man said, "I work in the prison ministry in Santa Barbara. I'm going to put the word on the street, on the radio, on the TV, and I'm going to personally put a $2,000 cash reward out for your violin." I get off the plane and I go to my gate and I look down at my phone, and you won't believe what it said. I got a call from the hotel manager and she says, "You won't believe what just happened, Rosemary." I said, "What?" She goes, "A man in a black hoodie came in, disheveled looking, walked into the hotel, placed your violin down, and said, 'I hear you've been looking for this,' and walked out the front door." Now, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. And that story has been such a testimony that I can share in concert halls, in churches, in bars, in pubs, anywhere. And it's been my story of faith now that I can share with people around the world. She likes to go
What a cool story, and we're glad that Rosemary found her violin, and as she said, she's sharing it wherever she gets opportunity, including here on 100 Huntley Street, and congratulations, Rosemary. And what a great, great organization, Harvest for Kids, and all that they're doing, sending kids to camp and helping kids all around the world. So hats off to our friends there in Winkler, Manitoba, and all the people that went there to make that a huge success. In a moment, we're going to check in with Mark Clark, but I did want to pray for you parents. You know, I know as a dad, when our kids first went to school, I was a little bit fearful and all that. And then, you know, when they head off to university, some of you are going through that. They're actually leaving home for the first time. You know, will they be able to get up in the morning? Will they feed themselves? Will they brush their teeth? You know, there's all those kinds of things that you're thinking about. But let's just pray right now. Lord, I thank you for family, and I thank you for kids, and thank you for this great country of Canada with the school system that we have. Yeah, there's problems, but there's also lots of good things too. And I thank you for mom and dads that have raised their kids, and now some of them are going to school for the very first time, and kids are nervous. Are they going to be liked? And, you know, there's so many distractions. And I just pray for mom and dad right now, grandma and grandpa, just that peace that passes understanding would just flood their spirits right now, and they can enjoy this day. And also those that have gone off to university, I just pray for them as they get, you know, acclimatized and meet new friends and a higher standard now of education. So be with them, and we thank you for all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, we continue our series now with Vancouver Pastor Mark Clark from the book of Matthew.
Hey, Pastor Mark here from Village Church, Vancouver, Canada. We're going through the Gospel of Matthew and dipping into these great moments of things about Jesus that confront us in our own life. And we did chapter 1 last time, and this is chapter 2 now. It's obviously a famous story, the Magi. And it says in chapter 2, of course, they ask where Jesus or where the king is being born, and they come and it says in verse 10, when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And so this is, of course, a classic Christmas story, but we have to all be scandalized a little bit, because this really isn't Christmas at all. Christmas is actually the Luke version of the story with the shepherds. This, it says there was a child. And so the way it worked in the Greek is he could be 2 years old. He could be a toddler at this point. And then, of course, the whole concept of these kings coming, and there's 3 of them, you know, we 3 kings, you know, all of that. It's all kind of blown away, because it doesn't say there was 3. There could have been 70. We don't know. There could have been 12. It says they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And so we just go, oh, there must have been one carried the gold, and the other carried the frankincense, and the other myrrh. But that's not really what it's saying. But the beautiful part about it is they came. We don't know how old Jesus was, and so it kind of blows up all those Christmas stories. But that's okay. But it's beautiful because they weren't kings. They were like wizards. They were Babylonian people who looked into the stars. And what's amazing about it is this. God put a star up and drew them to Jesus. God will enter into even things that you have wrong in your life because he chases us down. He uses their own pagan religion to draw them to Jesus. And then they come to Jesus, and they don't just say, hey, here's some stuff. They actually fall down and worship him. And so you and I, maybe you're a skeptic and you're watching this. You haven't believed in Jesus yet. You're looking for hope in your life or whatever. God will enter into your situation. He will use whatever to get your attention. He will draw near to you and call you, but he doesn't just call you generically to believe in God. We have a lot of concepts of God in our world today where people say, well, do you believe in God? And that's not really what Christianity is about. It's about saying, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Meaning God saying, I unpacked myself for you in the person of Jesus. And now the question is not to say, well, I think Jesus is a good guy or a good leader or a good teacher. It's, am I going to fall down and worship him? Am I going to orient my whole life, all my money, all my family, everything about me to the person and work of Jesus Christ specifically, not just stay in the realm of, well, I believe in God. So that's what the Christmas story challenges us to do. Will you bring everything about yourself and lay it at the feet of Jesus? Hopefully that's as challenging to you as it is to me.
And I think that's a great question. Will you lay it all out? And sometimes there's a lot of mess to have to lay out. But God sees past that. He knows all of that mess, and he just wants you to come to him. And that's why we have our prayer lines. You know, that's the reason why this ministry sees the importance of prayer, because we all know that we're at different points in our spiritual journey, and all of us need prayer. So if you want somebody to pray with you, or maybe you're just like, how do I even start to pray? Call our prayer lines at the bottom of your screen, 1-866-273-4444, or you can email us now, prayer@crossroads.ca. And we would love to just pray with you, get you on that journey of having a conversation with God. So do that today. Well, up next, don't you wish you had a success survival guide? Now you do. Here's our CEO, Lorna Duick, in conversation with pastor and author Ken Shigematsu.
Well, we're going to do some focused work now on helping us keep our souls great, healthy, alive, energetic. Reverend Ken Shigematsu, thank you for helping us understand what spiritual practices are that help us thrive. So let's start with that. What is a spiritual practice?
Right. I tend to be a forgetful person, and so if my wife phones me and asks me to remember to buy milk on the way home from work, I will write milk on a yellow Post-it note
okay.
and then put the Post-it note on my bicycle seat to remind me.
Okay.
A spiritual practice is like a sticky note reminder that tells us again and again that we are loved by God.
And these are like disciplines, events that you work in often in your life?
That's right. And so a practice is something that awakens us to a sense that we're loved by God. They don't act like jet propulsion, which lifts an airplane 30,000 feet into the air. They're more like tuning into radio waves. Though invisible, God is around us all the time. And so the practices open our eyes to the presence and love of God.
Okay, so how do you know if your soul needs a practice? If you need that bit of a wake-up?
Yeah, so if you're feeling disconnected from God or even from yourself, as James Joyce said in one of his characters, if, like Mr. Duffy, you feel like you're living a little distance from your body, that could be a sign. If you're feeling a lot of anxiety, if you're snapping at people around you, that could be a sign as well.
Anxiety is so high right now. So you have lined up, we're going to go through 8 different disciplines. Okay, we're going to start with silence, Sabbath keeping, there's gratitude, less is more. What posture do I need to be in to start this journey now into learning what a spiritual practice is and how I might use it?
Right. There's a story of a little fish that was swimming down a river toward the ocean in search of the ocean, gets to the ocean, and then approaches this larger, older fish and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Fish, can you tell me where the ocean is?" And the big fish says, "It's all around you." And the little fish says, "Oh, this is just water," and disappointed swims away. Well, the presence of God, like the ocean for the fish, is around us all the time. And so if we believe that and then use the practices to simply open our eyes to that reality, that's the best starting point.
Okay, Reverend Ken Shigematsu, the author of Survival Guide for the Soul. Tomorrow, we're going to work on how do you practice the discipline, I guess I would call it a discipline, of silence, and how that wakes up your soul. All right, that's tomorrow, and here's how you can get a copy of Ken's great book, Survival Guide for the Soul.
I admit I've had a divided heart, and I've struggled between the tension of worldly success and spiritual fulfillment. But I've learned that what keeps us from flourishing in our spiritual lives is the neglect of our inner life of the soul. And I want to show you a fresh perspective in my new book, Survival Guide for the Soul. Through my stories and a wide range of sources, I demonstrate how the gospel lifts this pressure off of our shoulders, restores our desires, and reorders our spiritual lives. I share spiritual practices that will help you attune to God's presence and discover a liberating and countercultural definition of true greatness. Call 100 Huntley Street today with your best ministry gift, and you'll receive a copy of my book, 1-800-265-3100. I pray that this book changes your life.
And we do hope that you will call and get your copy of Survival Guide for the Soul. We love getting great resources into your hands, and this is absolutely one of them. I love what Ken said. He talked about spiritual practice, and it's like that sticky note that you are loved by God, a reminder that you are loved by God. I love that because, again, in the midst of hurriedness, in the midst of everything in our lives, to remember that if you don't feel loved by anybody, you absolutely are loved by God. You know, when you support this ministry by ordering this book, you're supporting everything that we do here in front of the camera and behind the camera. We are so passionate about our prayer lines. There is no other show on the Canadian airwaves that is able to provide an extension to their television show, that's able to provide prayer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no other show that you're going to hear the message of God and how it's relating to Canadians today and how we're able to help Canadians across our country. So thank you so much to those of you who have supported this ministry throughout the years. If you have watched for a long time but you have yet to become a member, we would love for you to join our team and help us to financially make this possible every single day. Well, up next, a young man from Nigeria shares his experiences being bullied as a child and how the love of God really impacted his life. Here's Greg with his guest.
For children who grow up in a pastor's home can often feel that extra pressure to act in such a way as not to bring unwanted attention on the home and the ministry. I can tell you my 4 children can relate to that, and so can my next guest. Solomon Acquis Wu's dad was a pastor in Nigeria. And even though he made a commitment to follow Jesus at a young age, that didn't stop him from partying and getting drunk and doing things that he knew he probably shouldn't have been doing. Solomon, welcome to 100 Huntley Street.
How you doing, Greg? Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too. So you grew up in a pastor's home. Your dad is a man of God.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So how was life for you?
Life in Nigeria was amazing. You know, I grew up in a very godly home. Amazing parents. They taught us the word. We went to church every Sunday. I went to church, though, out of a religious obligation. And, you know, growing up, I had just 6 siblings, and it was just, life was very beautiful. And I'm so thankful that all that my parents instilled in me has played a part in my journey this far.
You come to Canada. You had some illness as well.
I did.
And that almost bankrupted your parents. Were you feeling guilty? Were you angry at God?
I was. So at about the age 7 or 8, I had an appendix surgery. I almost died. I had a near-death experience, appendix, and you know, my mom went bankrupt. So throughout my childhood, I was always sick. I was a sick child, and I just always wondered, like, why me? That was my question. Why me? I was always sick. My parents, you know, pretty much went bankrupt. I remember my mom borrowed money on several occasions just to look after me. And I just really wondered, like, you know, I've heard this preaching every Sunday at church that God loves me, but why am I always sick?
And people were praying for you?
Of course, yeah. I had, my parents are very, you know, they're prayer warriors. They prayed over me, their friends prayed over me. But I just really believed the devil was out to get me and just ruin my life.
So what was that doing in your relationship with God?
I just didn't understand why I was going through all of this. First, I was a sick child, near-death experiences. Now I'm being bullied in Canada. So I had kids that spat on me on occasions, just out of like hatred. So this one time, a kid came to me by the toilet, and I was familiar with those kids, took my backpack, brought my books, and just dumped it in the toilet. And I was afraid, of course, and of course I'm a big guy. Now I'm a big guy, but then I was a big kid, but with a lot of fear in the inside. I didn't really know how to express myself. So, I experienced stuff like that on occasions, called hurtful names, and it was really tough.
So how did you get through that into the place where you are now? As I see you, a very confident man, you have great passion, you want to be a light out there. So what happened in between these times when you're being bullied into how you've become this man today?
Eventually, I went to about 4 different high schools, and there were seasons the Lord just led, my family to a different city, went to a different high school. But my passion was soccer. Soccer was my escape route. So I played college soccer. So what happened was, soccer was my place that I released all my frustration. So eventually, the kids saw that this African kid is really good in soccer. That won me some friends, and the pressure was relieved. And so eventually, I had one more crazy challenge which eventually led me to dropping out of high school. One time at about, I think it was grade 10, I had a kid just really beat me up. And it was outside of it was not at my school, but it was a student from my school. And I remember this kid was just smashing my face nonstop. Oh, no. I still have the pictures to this day. I had a swollen face. And that was pretty much the last straw of the devil just literally wanted to just kill me. So after that experience, I was just a big mess. Went through another year of high school, and eventually I was just frustrated. I became a troubled kid. After soccer, I just wouldn't go to class, and eventually I just dropped out of high school.
So we're almost out of time, but we've got to end this on a good note here. How did you then come into this strong relationship with the Lord? Because obviously there was anger. There's sickness, there's beatings, you're being picked on, there's racism, all these things are going on. To now, where you've got a book called Love Rain Down. You want to encourage people, and I'd encourage people to get this book. I've been looking at it myself. Well done. How did you get to that place? So you're happily married now and going to be a dad.
I've heard it say that hurting people hurt people. I'm a person that has a hurting past, that want to use my past to see people healed. And I think I came to a place whereby I just knew that God has, it was the last straw, that there was red flags ahead of me with my partying and just being a troubled kid. So I came to a place whereby, God was just calling me, and I really wanted to just take my walk with God seriously. So he called me, and I responded to that call, and I just felt this calling to write this book, because so many people like me then are hurting. And as an evangelist and a person that really loves Jesus, I want to really encourage people with just my love for Jesus and my story, my testimony.
Well, Solomon, I can tell you that comes right out of you. And I'm just so hurt when I hear that that was your experience in Canada. I'm glad you didn't give up on us and that you have a heart to reach this nation.
Thank you.
And, and if maybe you're out there and you've gone through that kind of bullying and difficulty, and, where is God in this? And I think that's okay to ask those questions, absolutely. We got people standing by that can pray with you, encourage you. 1-866-273-4444 is our prayer lines. Always open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, Solomon, thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
And we'll have more of 100 Huntley Street right after this.
Well, God gave me a car, and when I had that car, that was it. I was going to Huntley Street. And God gave me a car because I had an opportunity to come here and witness and do what my mother did. I had a call the other day from a man in New York who wanted to rededicate his life to Jesus. What a privilege. Every time you pick up the phone, you're talking to Jesus. Prayer is everything. Prayer is my passion. It's what I live for. It's what I do all day in small episodes or big episodes. And I can testify that God never fails.
We realized really quick that this was not the normal parenting journey. We were ill-equipped. Anybody who's on the foster adoptive journey knows really quick that traditional parenting methods do not work when you're parenting children from places of trauma.
You just really enjoyed my interview with Solomon. What a great guy, doing wonderful things, but he's been through a lot. You know what breaks my heart, Maggie, as a Canadian, and especially, we're talking about kids going back to school. I think of those refugee families that have come from places like Syria and Iraq, and they've experienced such war and torment and sadness. And then, like in Solomon's case, and I hope this doesn't happen often, but then it's a negative experience. Because, these people are coming into this new country with great hopes and dreams, and, to be bullied and going through those difficulties. My prayer really is that as we'd welcome, that's what Canada is about. We're a nation that welcomes people. And, even today, maybe you're going to pick your kid up from school and they're, excited about meeting their teacher and the new classmates. And maybe there's somebody that's a little bit shy, or you can see, obviously, it's maybe a lady from, a Muslim country. Just go and make yourself known to them and just say hi and give them a warm smile. Those kinds of things can really welcome people. And so I hope we do that today, and that there's not these negative experiences like Solomon's had to endure.
Yeah, it's been a great show. I love also Mark Clark and having him on the show and just talking about actually knowing the true Jesus. Yeah. Absolutely, that's what we want. And that's when you do know the true Jesus, you are a welcoming spirit. You do go up to somebody you don't know and you say, hi, my name is so-and-so. And that's something that obviously we want to continue to teach our kids. I know that's something I try to teach Ethan, especially being older. A kid looks a little different. That's a great way to just make yourself known to that child and be a friend. Absolutely.
And you make these new relationships. Just before we came on the air, I was, in the courtyard here at Crossroads Center, and I met some new people from Edmonton. Of course, my ears perked up, and it turns out they come from another faith background, and they make great Lebanese food. So I'm looking forward to meal. But I think we share so much in this country that we need to be welcoming. The other thing that that Solomon said too is hurt people hurt people. We need to be healed if we've been hurt, and if we are hurting people, like we're talking before we came on, bullies that are doing these things, there's usually something missing in their home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to tell you about a great Facebook initiative that we have going. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear why you like your church or why you like the church in general. Take a video. So just like this, you're going to take a video. Hey, Greg. Hey, Maggie. What do I like about my church? And you're going to post it on our Facebook page, and maybe, just maybe, you might make an appearance on 100 Huntley Street. But we want to hear good news. Sometimes, Greg, we hear a lot of bad news about the church and a lot of criticism. We want to celebrate that we get to be a part of a family that loves each other and loves Jesus. And so tell us all the great things that you love.
And again, our prayer lines are open, with whatever you're dealing with, 1-866-273-4444. People always standing by. And again, if you, I just sense, so there's people out there I know that you have been hurt. Please call our prayer lines today. That's what we're all about. We want to see people get healed and then shine like Solomon.
Absolutely. We hope you have a great day back to school. I know that means lunches and everything all over again, but hope that everybody had a great day if it's the end of the day that you're watching this. And we'll see you tomorrow. There's another day.
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Yeah.
We don't do those at school anymore.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.